Hey, Arlo and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the Vanagon in the parking lot of Planet Fitness in Atlantic Beach, Florida. We're going to do our last reading from Classic Animal Tales Reader's Digest Young Families Edition today. And this one is called Rikki, Tikki, Tavi. It's about a mongoose. And here's the picture from the first page of Rikki, Tikki, Tavi, and it shows Rikki, Tikki, Tavi with a boy. I don't know if I'd be trying to pet that mongoose, but I'm not in this story. This is a tale of a brave mongoose named Rikki, Tikki, Tavi and his great fight to help a family that saved him. It all started and ended in the far-off land of India. It began on the first sunny day after many days of dark and rain. A young English boy named Teddy went outside to explore. There he found a mongoose in the road. A mongoose is a small animal, a bit like a cat and a bit like a weasel. I think a little more like a weasel than a cat. This mongoose, Rikki Tikki, had thick hair and a bushy tail that made him look like a cat. His skinny head and the way he moved his feet, though, were just like a weasel. Both his wiggly nose and his little eyes were pink. But when Rikki Tikki got mad, so I guess Tavi's his last name. But when Rikki Tikki got mad, his eyes turned deep, deep red. A big summer flood had washed Rikki Tikki out of the hole where he lived. The water carried him along and dumped him in a ditch just outside Teddy's house. "Look, Mommy, a dead mongoose," Teddy said as he carried Rikki Tikki inside. "Let's have a funeral." Oh, I'm sure Mom was thrilled. "No, Teddy," said his mother. "Maybe he's just wet. Why don't we dry him off?" Teddy's father wrapped him in a towel to warm him up. The towel tickled Rikki Tikki's little pink nose. "Achoo," the mongoose sneezed, and then looked around. Rikki Tikki, like all mongooses, wouldn't it be mongoose? Like all mongooses, was a very crafty and curious creature. And here's a picture of Rikki Tikki Tavi, whatever his name is, nuzzling the boy, with the parents going like, "Ah." Rikki Tikki ran up to Teddy and rubbed his wet head under the boy's chin. "Hey, that tickles," Teddy cried. "He wants to be your friend," Teddy's father laughed. "Wow, I can't believe it," said Teddy's mother. "He's a wild animal. I guess he's so tame because we've been kind to him." "As long as we don't pick him up by the tail or put him in a cage," said Teddy's father. "He'll run in and out of the house all day. You'll see." Then Rikki Tikki scurried off. He spent the whole day running through Teddy's house. First he went for a swim in the family's bathtub. Then he dirtied his nose, sniffing the ink in an inkwell. Later he burnt his nose while bumping it against Teddy's father's cigar. But at bedtime, he climbed up into bed right next to Teddy. "Is that safe?" Teddy's mother asked. "What if Rikki Tikki bites or scratches Teddy?" "I think you should have asked that question a long time ago, Mom." "He won't do that," Teddy's father replied. "Teddy is safer with him than if he had a guard dog watching over him. But if a snake were to come in here..." Teddy's mother interrupted him. "Don't even say that," she said. They turned out the light. Teddy and Rikki Tikki went straight to sleep. The next morning, Rikki Tikki went out into the big garden at the back of the house to look around. It was a large yard with rose bushes as big as people. It had lime trees and orange trees, bunches of bamboo, and plenty of tall grass. Rikki Tikki heard a sad song coming from the trees. He looked up and saw Darzy, the songbird. and his wife. One of their eggs had fallen out of their nest, and a snake had come along and eaten it. Those snakes, Nag and Nagaina, are evil, Darzee cried. They weren't just any snakes, they were cobras, which are some of the biggest and deadliest snakes around. I'm sorry, said Rikki Tikki, but I am new here. Who is Nag? Just then, a big black snake slithered up through the tall grass. It hissed. It hissed a low breath that was cold and harsh, like steam whistling out of a radiator. Rikki Tikki was so scared by the sound that he jumped back 2 feet. And here's Nag the snake and Rikki Tikki. I don't know how they lost the tab in his name, but he did. The snake, 5 feet long from the tip of his tongue to the back of his tail, raised his head and its hooded back. He stared at Rikki Tikki with evil eyes that never blinked. Who is Nag? I am Nag. I am a cobra, and my family has been ruling this garden for thousands of years. Look at me and be afraid. Rikki Tikki was scared for a second, but no more than that. He knew that as a mongoose, he was supposed to fight snakes. This was his duty. Nag knew it too. And it's a very interesting thing, get off the track for a second, that mongooses, they're little tiny things compared to a giant snake, but they kick snakes' butts. That's what they do. It's what they were born to do. Look out, yelled Darzee's wife. And remember, Darzee's this songbird. Look out, yelled Darzee's wife. At just that moment, another snake struck at Rikki Tikki from behind. He jumped high in the air as if he was bouncing on a trampoline. The snake, Nag's wife, Nagaina, had tried to bite Rikki Tikki. She missed him by inches. Since a cobra bite can be deadly, Rikki Tikki was lucky. Then, without a word, the two snakes quickly slithered off into the grass. Rikki Tikki went back to the house to see Teddy. Later that night, Rikki Tikki listened to a particular sound. The house was silent, but Rikki Tikki could make out what seemed like the sound of snakeskin rubbing on bricks. Nag, or Nagaina, was in the house. They had come in through the drain in the tub. Hope your grandmother doesn't read this story. She'll be plugging up all the drains. She'll be like pouring cement in them. As quick as he could, Rikki Tikki ran off to Teddy's parents' bathroom. There he heard two voices whispering in the dark. It was Nag and Nagaina. And here's Nag and Nagaina in the bathroom, chatting it up. When the house is empty of people, Nagaina was saying, Rikki Tikki will have to go away. Then the garden will be all ours again. So long as the house is empty, we are king and queen of the garden. Remember, our eggs in the melon patch will be hatching soon. So these evil people or snakes are becoming parents. They're going to make more of the same things. Go in quickly, she said, and scare off the people. Then you and I will take care of Rikki Tikki together. So they're going to get rid of the people, and then they're going to gang up and kill Rikki Tikki. Rikki Tikki's eyes glowed the deep red of a polished ruby. So he's upset then, because when he's mad, his eyes are red, and when he's happy, his eyes are pink. He watched as Nag's head came through the drain. He heard Nagaina slide away into the grass outside. It seemed that Nag intended to wait in the drain until morning. Then the cobra could surprise Teddy's father when he got in the shower, scaring the man and his family away. Rikki Tikki waited too. He thought of all the nice things that Teddy's family had done for him. After an hour, he inched closer to the deadly snake. He would fight the snake and send him away for good. But he had to make sure that he bit the snake in just the right spot. One wrong move could cost Rikki Tikki his life, and then he'd be Rikki Tikki dead. Then, without warning and as quick as a flash of lightning, Rikki Tikki jumped, grabbed the snake by the back of the neck. Nag whipped his hooded head around. The snake swung Rikki Tikki like a limp rag doll. Still, Rikki Tikki held tight. So the snake's going like this, and Rikki Tikki's hanging on. And here's a still picture of that. Then Rikki Tikki felt a burst of wind over his shoulder. He heard a large crack. Teddy's father had taken a large stick and hit Nag in the head. The black cobra lay still on the cold tile floor. Teddy's father quickly picked up the snake and got rid of him. "Oh my," Teddy's mother cried from the bathroom doorway. "That mongoose has saved all of our lives." Rikki Tikki walked back into Teddy's room and spent the rest of the night there. When morning came, he knew he would have to find Nagaina and fight her too. Once she found out that Nag was gone, she would be very angry. She would be very dangerous to everyone. Rikki Tikki went to the garden with a plan. "Darzee," he called out to the songbird, "you have to help me. You must distract Nagaina while I go find her eggs." Oh, so they're going to destroy the whole family tree. Mrs. Darzee agreed to run over to where the black snake was lying in the grass and lure her away. Nagaina was sitting by the house and crying over her lost Nag. "Oh no," exclaimed Mrs. Darzee so the snake could hear her. "My wing has been broken and I can't fly." The bird, of course, was fine. She just needed to get the snake away from her eggs. Then Rikki Tikki could snatch them. As the bird fluttered down the garden path, Nagaina followed close behind, stalking her prey. So the bird's faking an injury so that the snake goes, "This is an easy snack for me." And here's a picture of Rikki Tikki with an egg. So I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. When he saw them pass by, Rikki Tikki ran over to the melon patch and began carrying off the eggs he found. That's what we just saw. He had just come back for the last egg when Mrs. Darzee flew over to him. "Oh, Rikki Tikki, Nagaina has trapped Teddy and his parents on the porch of the house." Rikki Tikki ran as fast as his legs could carry him. He reached the porch with the last of Nagaina's eggs in his mouth. Teddy's family had sat down to eat, but none of them moved. Their faces were as white as snow. Nagaina stood inches away from Teddy's chair. She was ready to strike at any moment. Excuse me. Rikki Tikki dropped the egg on the floorboard. He yelled, "Nagaina, I have the last of your precious eggs right here. I have taken all the others from the garden. This is your last one. Leave them alone, and I will give you this last egg." And here's Rikki Tikki laying the law down to Nagaina. Nagaina spun around. She forgot everything for the sake of that one egg. As soon as she turned away from them, Teddy's father grabbed and pulled him to safety. Now Nagaina turned on Rikki Tikki and a wicked fight began. The two animals moved round and round in an angry dance on the porch, but Rikki Tikki was very quick. He jumped back with each of Nagaina's wicked strikes. And we saw the picture, right? From the standoff, Rikki Tikki forgot about the egg for some time. After a few minutes, Nagaina got close to her treasure. Before Rikki Tikki could catch her, she snapped up the egg in her mouth and raced down the steps and out into the garden. Rikki Tikki followed right behind her on the trail. Over the garden paths they went, snake, egg, and mongoose. Perched above them was Mrs. Darcy, so he called in air support. Perched above them was Mrs. Darcy, who watched the chase. She flew straight at the snake, hoping to slow Nagaina down a bit by cutting her off. She gave Rikki Tikki the chance to grab hold of Nagaina's tail. Rikki Tikki bit down just as Nagaina slid down into her hole. Rikki Tikki went down into the hole with her. They continued the fight. The long grass at the entrance of the hole shook as the two struggled underground. Then the grass stopped waving. All the animals thought Rikki Tikki had lost. Suddenly, Rikki Tikki's tiny head popped up out of the hole. Nagaina has taken her egg and gone, he said. She will never come back to this garden again. So he didn't kill her. He just told her to disappear into the earth, I guess. Then he walked, and here's a picture of Rikki Tikki popping out of the hole. Then he walked off to a sunny patch of grass and fell asleep. The tiny mongoose was content. He owed Teddy's family a big favor for saving him from the flood. By keeping his English friends safe from Nag and Nagaina, Rikki Tikki Tavi had returned the kindness. So, yeah, I didn't think they were Indian. They looked kind of semi-Indian. The end. Peace out, gents.